Daniel Inhart.
I'm reflecting here.
Oh,
The light coming in through the blinds.
yeah, I see that. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, you're probably enjoying that. But if you're not, then this is just an awkward audio moment.
It's just light reflecting off my blue shirt. So I've got white and I have blue, but I don't have the red.
Oh, well, that
Kind of looks like the
recent.
stripes of the,
The American flag,
Mhm.
the holiday we just celebrated, which this won't go out until maybe 3 weeks after that. So it's a little out of date.
Well, maybe we just scratch this whole segment.
No, we'll roll with it. I got a hat on now. They won't know that we just recorded the last one.
No, they won't.
You know what, Dan? I am so ready to. I went in and took some stuff into the office yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
video equipment, and I just sat there and just soaked up the old space. Smells like an old building. It's weird. It's been sitting empty for 3 months, and it just got that musty smell.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over
like a shoe?
No, like an old apartment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, like a basement.
Yeah,
like a basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went over to the kettle, our really expensive coffee water kettle. You know what I'm talking about? I don't remember the name of it, but it's really expensive. We paid too much for it.
Mm. It heats water.
It heats water up, but it pours it perfectly. And I was like, oh, there's still water in here. And then I was like, oh, that could be gross. So I opened it up. It wasn't like moldy, but it started rusting. It's been sitting there for 3 months and it was rusting.
That's sad.
So I scrubbed it out and emptied it out. But it's just like weird things that you go like, it's as if no time has passed except for those little subtle indications, i.e. rust. I don't know if I can handle this anymore.
Rust and mold and...
And speaking of rust, let's bring in our guest. I don't know how to...
Good old Rusty Olson.
No, I'm really excited to talk to Nate Olson. He is our director of sales here at Crema. Nate has been with us. I always have to guess, but I actually think I know. Nate, you've been with us for 5 years, 6 years?
It'll be November 2014.
Yeah,
so it'll be 6.
Correct.
6? Yes, you're the first person I've got it right. Nate's been with us for a while, and you were our first sales person. Like we didn't even know what to call it at the time.
Hey, you're gonna be our sales guy, okay, guy.
Business development strategist.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Just in case you couldn't, decide on one.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I'm really excited to talk to you today, Nate. Just generally about how we think about sales here, how we think about what we do, how you position that, and you've seen that adapt a lot over the last 5-6 years, and have been a part of that adapting. So it's been really, really fun to work with you. I want to just start off real quick with the kind of the origin story of your joining Crema. I remember we were working on 1 million cups at Kauffman Foundations together. You had launched this incredible program at Kauffman, which was super cool. And you invited me, i.e. roped me into volunteering like 150 hours of my time to be a part of this incredible thing that you were doing at Kauffman. And then you left that organization and we're like, and it was like, oh, we should do something. I don't know what it looks like or what that might, you're like, I'm going to go to Africa. I was like, what? And you're like,
what do you want to do with your life? I'm going to
Africa. You go, yeah, I'm going to go. I think was that the Kilimanjaro trip?
Yeah, it was. It's a crazy story to unravel, but I was reflecting on this recently in preparation for the podcast. But one of the things that I thought was super interesting was when 1 million cups really started to grow beyond 20 cities.
Yeah,
we were like, okay, all of our processes are breaking. We were using Google and spreadsheets and stuff, email to track everything. And we said, we really should build some software around this. And at the time, the foundation was on Sitecore, which
Sitecore.
Sitecore, which is really great for just big marketing websites with static information, but to actually build like an app on Sitecore was really difficult. And so the first attempt at that failed. And one of the things when I was in Africa and I was traveling afterwards for close to 4 months, I was thinking, okay, I started something, I was trying to grow it. The technology piece was so complicated and we got it wrong, wasted a bunch of time and money, and probably should have listened to George.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
But that was a really hard situation to navigate because I wasn't a tech savvy person per se. Like I hadn't been on the tech development side ever before.
Yeah, right.
And I thought that was probably the biggest gap in my education to that point was, sure, you can have a great idea, you can have a great concept and a great opportunity and have traction, but if you can't actually build a product to help you scale, to build systems that will support your organization as it grows, that's a pretty scary place to be. And so I said, you know, Crema's building technology, that's a huge gap in my education. So that's, I think, why I started leaning in so heavily there is how you build things and what you build really matters to your organization. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of empathy for people who are trying to build things and do it wrong because I've done it before.
You've been there, done that.
I want to prevent that from happening to other people. And nowadays, I don't talk to very many people who don't have a bad technology story, and you know that makes the conversation, you know, usually starts off on an empathetic note where they say, well, we tried to build something, we tried to build it overseas, we just hired a guy that we knew,
sure,
and it's not working anymore. I mean, we've heard thousands of these stories
every day.
And so so I get it. And you know, eventually Crema rebuilt the 1 million cups platform the way it should have been, which was a great opportunity for us to kind of remedy that. But not that many people get a second chance as well. And so that is another thing that I'm really passionate about, is helping people do things the best way possible the first time.
I think that's a good word. When we transitioned, I remember you and I first starting together, and I had been doing most of the top level sales. Dan would, you know, put together the final contracts, and that's just because it was just him and I doing it. Right. And you came in, and I remember the first 6 months was definitely like bringing you up to speed with what the heck Crema actually does. Like, how does it work and what do the words mean, and, you know, all that stuff. And then it was a weird transition because you weren't me, and you did things differently, and you talked to people differently, and you had a different posture than I did. And it was like, oh dear mother, what's he doing? I was just like so much anxiety. But what was incredible was you had this, you weren't a sales guy. And what was amazing was that you just loved just getting into people's ideas and like, oh, cool. Tell me more about that. And I think that has just shaped who Crema is as a first touch of coming in to talk with us or work with us. Do you remember that awkward like transition into like, oh, let's just, you know, take over the way George did it, where he was just like, I'll say yes to anything because I got to keep the business alive. And you being like, ooh, let's just get deep into it and like, you know, strategize, you know, that was such a fun and wild transition, at least for me.
It's been an evolution because I had no sales experience when I came in.
Yeah.
And so I had to develop my own technique, which is, I am the least salesy sales guy you'll ever meet. I take a lot of pride in that. Take a lot of pride in that because I just shoot it straight with people. I'm very candid, and I think that's what most people find refreshing. Agency sales people in general get a bad rap because they tend to overcommit and underdeliver, and that usually falls on the product team. And I also realized that, when I joined Crema, we were only 8 or 9 people.
Yeah, it was small.
And
Yeah.
so the projects we got into really mattered because the people that would actually have to deal with those projects and what I had sold were sitting right next to me in the
They were
same
right
small
there.
room. They were right there. So it's really important for me to figure out how to get us into good relationships.
Yeah.
And then also, one of the big turning points was it takes just as much effort to sell, at that time it was like a $50,000 deal as it did to sell a $10,000 deal. So I said, well, I'm only one guy, so I should focus on the bigger opportunities. And that really helped us focus, and I think provided some early growth. And of course, we just did that over and over and over again. Now Crema's 40 people and grown quite a bit.
So Nate, you talked about how you like digging into ideas and you're the least salesy sales guy. What we've termed that is, and what I think the industry at large also sees that as, is more of a consultative sales process, meaning like really diving into build relationship. And it's kind of that high touch customer intimacy type sales process where you're really trying to, you're not selling widgets. It's not like you're trying to sell things on volume. You're really trying to truly understand someone, and then hopefully we can provide a solution that solves that problem. So what does that process look like? What does, if someone were listening and be like, okay, I'm in sales, or I want to get in sales, and I just heard something called consultative sales process. What does that look like at Crema?
Yeah, consultative sales is something I'm really passionate about. I've been trying to hone my craft in consultative sales for almost 6 years now. There's a really simple model called PAS, and it's problems, alternatives, and solutions. But to break that down even further, I haven't met a client who comes with one singular problem, like customer retention or use of data or employee efficiency or dashboards. I mean, there's a million different things out there that a client might come in saying that they think that they need, but really they're thinking a solution is technology, and we have to start have to uncover those problems. So that's the P, is what are the problems and what are the implications of those problems. And so that's where it all starts, is tell me the story, what's going on, what's prompting this, why now? And people might say, well, we need a mobile app, and we need it because our customers aren't engaged with us. And so a mobile app will make it easier for them to engage with our solutions. And then we start pulling on that thread. Well, why does engagement matter? Oh, well, we get paid off of how engaged they are. And it just keeps going and going. And so a lot of our initial conversations are, what are the problems and what are the implications of those problems? The A in the PAS model is, what are the alternatives that you have? And I am very upfront that there are many ways to build technology, and there are pros and cons to every single way. And George, I think 3 years ago now, we did a whole
and it still stands. Those 5 ways to build is still an accurate description.
But for most companies, they're either, hey, are we going to hire and build our own internal team and become a technology company, or are we going to find a partner that helps with that? And there's pros and cons to those things and the timing of those things. So we talk about, what alternatives do you have? And one of the biggest alternatives is to do nothing, which is what a lot of companies decide to do once they've quoted technology, is they just decide, we're just going to kick the can down the road. And that is a viable, alternative.
Right.
And then solutions. So we talk about, well, how would we actually approach this? Working in agile product teams, how do we validate through design that we're building the right solution, and give our team and our stakeholders and your stakeholders the confidence to move forward with the solution? And we talk through that. But a lot of times, I mean, I talk to hundreds of companies in a year. We're not a great fit for all of those companies.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my job is actually educating on here's where you're at, here's what the problems are. And one of the best things is like, once you talk to so many companies, most companies are dealing with very similar challenges.
So
And
many
so
trends. Yeah.
there's so many trends. And that's what I love about working in an agency is we get to see, what's happening in logistics is related to what's happening in healthcare and related in these other industries. And it makes me feel really good just to educate and say, this is a really common problem. I've talked to a lot of people recently facing this problem. You're not alone. Because I think a lot of executives feel like this is so overwhelming. I don't even know where to begin. I feel like we're the only ones. But the reality is that, these are really typical things. And a lot of companies have built something that lasted a decade and now it's breaking. And it's just like, hey, you just have technical debt and it's time to pay that down either by overhauling the current system or rethinking how things are. So that's a bigger thing on consultative sales, but PAS is the typical, model that I follow.
Gotcha.
And I think all of that leads to you building trust with these people, right? So we talk a lot about the fact that we're in the business of people. We just happen to design and build apps. And most of what you end up selling is a relationship that we're really saying, hey, we're going to be your trusted partner. We're going to be this team that you're going to know, you're going to see, you're going to collaborate with. And that comes through a process for sure, but it's really about working with people that you will build a relationship with, and you get to be the front lines of that, the beginning of that courtship, if you will, of, hey, let me give you a taste just through these early initial calls and through our contract writing process and our requirements gathering process. Let me give you a taste of how great it's going to be here. And then there is a transition to the team that actually is going to execute on the work, but you do so much work up front. And I think we all continue to try to do this to fill up that trust bucket, right? Maybe talk a little bit about that. What is that like for you, or what are some things that you do that you really try to invest into building trust with those clients early on?
Yeah, that's a good question because it really depends. It depends on whether I'm talking to an enterprise or
Sure,
small or medium-sized business that's core business isn't technology, but they know they need it and they need a partner. And it's different when talking to entrepreneurs because everybody cares about something different. People value, everybody values a relationship, but if you're talking to a startup, for example, they really care about speed and cost. And I want to get the best thing possible, but at the cheapest price. And I want it to go very quickly. And, that's a different conversation than working with the enterprise that has a lot on the line. They need to get something right because, potentially tens of millions of people could interact with this piece of technology. And so they need to pick the right partners. They need to really foster the right things so the best technology gets built. So they're kind of looking for different things, but mostly I just listen. The first call is really 80% listening and 20% talking. And I ask really good questions. And that's just been refined over time. The questions that I ask, or if I can tell what company you are, and I do quite a bit of research up front before we talk. The way to be, a consultant or in consultative sales is to ask really great questions.
Right.
And this is something we talk a lot about is, can we understand where they're at and what they're asking for faster than any other company? And I think being exposed to so many different industries, different companies, different people, if you're on these calls, very frequently, all of a sudden you go, oh, I know exactly what you're asking for. You're asking for this. And then confirming, is that right? And a lot of people don't want to tell you. So when you start digging into like, what are the problems and the implications of those problems, a lot of companies don't want to tell you that information. But if you already know, you can say,
yeah.
I imagine that's a problem with your ability to scale right now. Yeah, it is. And, then we start talking about that. And so if you
How does
know
that
what
lead into that kind of ROI conversation?
well, yeah, I think most people don't know how to value a technology investment.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah,
people think
totally.
like, I just spend money and I build the piece of software and then customers pay me a bunch of money and you know
Profit.
we're profitable and we have $1 billion exit. Unfortunately, like culturally, what most people know about technology is probably what they see on Shark Tank or
Mhm.
just big movies like when the Facebook movie came out. I think
Yeah,
everybody
sure.
started, telling that story, or they hear like, oh, Jeff Bezos, during quarantines made an additional $50 billion, like they just seem so attainable or unattainable or so far out there that it's hard to actually figure out like, what does it actually mean to build this technology. So whether it's an enterprise or a small business that we're talking to, I like to just level set that we're trying to break even here on this investment in 3 years. Let's use that as a target. So you're not going to make your money back immediately because you can't ship half a product. That's what it is. If you have a software product and you ship it with one feature, I mean, good luck. There are companies that have done that in the early internet days and made it work, but more and more, there has to be the right features and we have to continually build and adapt the product over time. And
Yeah.
so that investment level just means a pretty high burn rate over a pretty long period of time. And so to break even in a 3 to 5 year period is really outstanding on a lot of products. Even if it's like an internal efficiency tool, we've built quite a few of these where companies are going, we just can't scale without adding people. So let's try and leverage technology. The investments are big, and because they're really complex and they're trying to solve a lot of different business problems. And the investment level is, over a 1 to 3 year period. But if you are committed to making the changes that your organization needs to make, especially in a business efficiency situation, you could save tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, easily.
Easily. And so I think a lot of people, particularly in the world we're living in right now, are really short-sighted in their tech investments. And we need to pull that timeline horizon out to think about 3 to 5 years. Because, if you could just put money in and 12 months later have a bunch of money shooting out, I mean, everybody would do it. And I say, I tell people this all the time. If building technology companies was cheap and easy to do, everybody would do it, including us. Including us at Crema. We would build our own stuff more, but it's actually really difficult to do. And
and it takes time, and it's about people, and people are hard to predict, and so you have to respond to that. There's just so many factors that go into making that quote unquote successful. And that those early conversations, I think you do an incredible job just educating, really. And even if somebody's savvy, it's a good reminder of, oh yeah, that's right, we're starting over again, or yeah, I've got this existing piece of technology that's not performing. I need to rethink where we're at right now. And I think your honesty goes a long way, even if it means, hey, maybe you shouldn't work with us right now, but you should address these other 3 things and then come back, and then let's work together after you've addressed those 3 things, or whatever that might be. That honesty goes a long way up front.
Yeah. Something that I've been thinking a lot about lately is, okay, if a company makes an investment in, let's say, an internal software tool, it's going to make their team run so much better.
Yeah.
It's going to help, decrease the need of hiring, allow their customers to engage online, allow their teams to work fully that comes, like, you can get a great return, but that comes with the caveat of making another investment in reskilling and retooling the current team and making some decisions about basically moving people either into different departments, because you can't build the technology and incur the expense for that and
sustain the other thing.
keep doing
yeah.
what you were doing
Yeah.
as well. And so that's been a big learning as well, because it has to be both and in those situations. So, and I think right now that's a lot of the work that Crema sees, is companies are being forced to work with their clients in a completely tech environment, maybe for the first time, as well as their teams working in that way. And so there are huge opportunities to build really great technology. So moving off of Excel and, you know, the whole Microsoft suite, and really opening up the data that the company already has and building systems where these things can talk to each other, and just, you know, humans don't need to move the papers back and forth or communicate those changes. We can do that, you know, at the data level. And so when we start looking at those opportunities, there's huge jumps, but it has to come with a commitment to reskill and retool the current workforce.
Yeah.
And there's only so far you can push that as well, which is another interesting topic right now. Is there's a lot of comfort in using tools like, you know, Microsoft.
Yeah, it's familiar.
Or something like that.
So quick comment. Let's not talk about Microsoft Excel that way anymore. Let's make sure
Dan's pride and joy.
that we give credit. Let's make sure we give credit where credit's due. Okay, that's one.
But that has been pushed to the limits, and companies are often going, we're literally maxing out these sheets, and we have to do something different, or it's not efficient at scale.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, an exact quote, George. It's like, we've broken Excel. I'm like, you're like the fifth company I've talked to that's actually done that, which is really hard to do.
I've never heard of that. I can't imagine that. So you hinted at this a little bit, but just the way things are shaping up in the world we live in today, new opportunities, new way of thinking. What are some other things that your position or sales in general has looked differently since, you know, beginning of March, since this year due to COVID? How have you had to pivot? How have you had to adjust the way you talk to clients, or even just the practical nature of doing conversation like this, you know, via Zoom or whatnot?
Not having coffees anymore.
Yeah. What does that look like?
Well, yeah, we talked a lot about trust. It's hard to build trust with people you've never met before. It's just even being near someone, and, you know, so much of communication is nonverbal. So just being able to be with people is a missing element. But I think that's universal, and I think we're becoming more open to working with people we've never actually been in the same room with.
Yeah.
So I definitely think we're learning, and everyone's adapting. On the flip side, you know, one of the things I think about is like, well, I'm not running into people as organically as I used to, but almost everybody is more available because they're all sitting at home in front of their computers for most of the day. So there is this flip side where there's actually maybe more opportunity to talk to more people. But how to do that, how to approach that has been a little bit awkward. I think the biggest thing overall is that companies and people love predictability and comfort and safety, and those are hard things to get right now.
Right.
And especially, you know, COVID's changing day by day, and so companies are having a hard time making longer term decisions, which, you know, software build is you know, a 6+ month typically, you know, type of commitment. And or it could be a forever commitment, you know, depending on how you view it. And so for companies where technology isn't their core, I think they're a little bit more I don't know what the apprehensive of getting in a long-term contract or partnership with a company to actually build it. That being said, though, when we look at industries, a lot of the industries where Crema works in, we're working with companies that were relevant before COVID, relevant during COVID, or even more, and will be relevant after.
Yeah.
And so I think it has delayed some decision making, but it won't eliminate it altogether, because we will get through this. We will, there will be another side. And the companies, some of these companies have been around 100 years. So they'll be around after this as well.
When you think about the companies that went through the Great Depression or went through World War II, where, that was significantly worse than even what we're experiencing right now, hard to believe, but, and survive that, I think there is another side. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. The other curveball that I've been experiencing a lot, and I think a lot of executives are on, I call them fishing expeditions. They're talking to a lot of companies. They haven't made a decision whether or not they want to build technology. They're exploring it. They're very interested in it. They will try and extract as much helpful information as possible, but they may be on the fence, or that decision may be 2 years down the road. And so I think that's something to my, fellow sales folks out there, that's something to look out for, because there are a lot of companies that are prospecting right now. They're not ready to move, but they're gathering information. And I can tell you, it's really hard to decipher between who is ready to move and who isn't. And I've had to get a lot more bold and just asking, do you have an internal initiative and budget around this?
Right.
That's hard to ask for on the first call. Usually I don't ask those things, or it might come up organically. But it's important.
But what you're trying to get at though is, how serious are you? I mean, is this really something you want to do? And that's just out of transparency, out of clear communication. We want to serve you well, and this will help us to know how we can serve you, even in these early conversations. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sales cycles are already long, I think, in consultative sales, so they are getting pushed longer. But again, I think rather than being a pushy salesperson, like, just give me a yes or no. Please.
If I go back and talk to my manager right now, will you take this deal?
Give me anything. No, it's in all seriousness, I care about the people that we're talking to. And I'm really trying to say, what can we do to be supportive in this time, rather than being pushy? Because if someone has an internal initiative, like one of our clients has an initiative that they've been pushing for a year, 2, 3 years, and they finally get the go ahead, and then all of a sudden they're derailed, it's equally frustrating. And sometimes it's hard to see that from our perspective, because we just want a decision. We need to plan around it. But on the flip side, I know it can be equally frustrating for them. And during this time, especially the last 4 months, I've been just really sensitive to that, because it lowers their job satisfaction and their plans, and what their team was going to work on and how they were going to do things. So,
and right now you're planting seeds, right? And like you said, because it's a long sales process, it's okay. We're giving value. We're helping people where we can, and good things come around. And that tends to either come back with them saying, man, I love that conversation we had back in, January, or I really appreciated what you did for me then. I want to refer you to someone, or whatever that is. Again, this is about people being kind and generous to each other. And then it comes around. Yeah, no question.
Yep.
I'm curious real quick as we wrap up here. We've been talking about this framework with the postures, disciplines, and structures. And I want to see if we can do kind of a rapid fire of I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. I'm going to hit each of those 3 things, the postures, disciplines, and structures. And maybe I'll do it in reverse. What are some structures, some guidelines, or some constraints that you have to work within your craft, within your role, that shape the direction that you go in sales? So we'll start with structures. What are some structures that give you a guideline, point you in a certain direction, in your role at Crema in sales?
Yeah, I think maybe the biggest one is just factors for fit in terms of working with our team.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great companies that could all write a check and we could build software for them, but doing it in the way that we work takes a special company that's ready to really work with a full product team. And so I look for factors for fit as definitely a constraint and guiding light in getting Crema into good relationships. I got to throw it out to Tuck. He's our director of product management, and I spent a lot of time with him just planning ahead. What types of engagements do we need? When do we need them? And so that is a structure, and the way that we built that is could be a whole episode. But
Oh, that Airtable, that's something to
I
behold.
mean, it's a work of art. But being able to look ahead and plan ahead so that our team has the best experience possible as well, avoiding long bench time and getting projects ramped up at the right times.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one. Disciplines.
Right.
What are some disciplines, some rhythms, some activities that you try to do to keep yourself, focused and doing your best work?
Yeah. One is I have a mentor, and I meet with him once a month, and that is
Very cool.
really, really good because he's got 15 more years experience than I do in sales, and he can really challenge my thinking. So having a mentor once a month, mandatory coffee meeting has been really life-giving. Daily looking for opportunities, reading a lot, knowing what's in the industry, knowing who's doing what. Like, I'm just constantly curious and doing research because it helps me in all these conversations by pulling in other examples. So that's kind of a daily activity. One, I think Dan and George, that I am kind of bashful in terms of like networking. I like meeting people, but I don't like doing it in a way that
Handing
feels
out business cards.
It's forced.
yeah, that's forced. And so getting in a regular routine now of reaching out to people is kind of one of those things I'm just starting to do, and I'm pushing people to they want to do in-person coffee meetings, and I'm like, no, let's just meet on Zoom, and we're navigating that.
It's 2020 and the pandemic's not gone. Yeah. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, last one is mindsets or postures. What are some mindsets or postures that you try to keep top of mind, attitudes that you try to have that help you to do your best work?
I treat every opportunity the same, whether they, don't have a website and, they're probably not a good fit for us, or they're some amazing enterprise that we would love to have walk in. I treat everybody the same in terms of trying to be helpful, educational. And one of the big things this year, thematically, is just being creative about how might we work together.
Yeah.
It used to be easier, in 2019, it was like not a good fit, or, I think we'll pass on this right now. It has become more difficult because it is harder to see around the corner what the future has in hold for everyone. But I think that's maybe the biggest thing for me, is just being creative and open to everyone that we meet. 30 minutes call to connect and do right by somebody is not a lot to ask. And as long as I can do that over and over and over again, it continues to yield positive results.
Okay. So you're willing to talk to everybody. You're always going to treat everybody the same that comes in, but I'm going to ask one final question and then we'll wrap up. What does an ideal client for Crema look like? When you go, man, that's a special sweet spot where we go, that's a bond that was
It just
made
feels
to me.
good.
It feels real good. I'm really excited. Give me the kind of elevator pitch real quick of what an ideal client at Crema or a partner with Crema looks like.
Yeah, I think I hate to say it depends. There's kind of two core groups that we love working with. these are, product owners, product leaders at enterprises. You can check out our work page for lots of different enterprises. It doesn't necessarily matter the industry, but they're product leaders at enterprises that are looking to really increase the velocity on a current product or rethink a current existing product and rebuild that experience. We love working with their internal teams. So usually those people have internal resources, and we find this really great relationship between working with internal teams and our team coming in as a third-party expert and being able to really own, the front end user experience piece of that. So that is a great fit. Then, the other group that we work a lot with are just small and medium-sized businesses where their core may not be technology. Take a healthcare company, they're in the healthcare industry, solving a niche problem, but they can't scale because the current systems that they have just won't allow them to. And so they want to rethink, well, how could technology really improve our scalability, our competitive advantage, and really help our business grow? And we worked with a lot of those companies as their partner on a piece of technology that helps them do that. So the third group is entrepreneurs, and we do a plethora of different things to help entrepreneurs validate their early concepts. And they're kind of a mixed bag because they're all over the place, but I'll just leave it at that. I love meeting founders and hearing the impetus for their startup and what their goals are.
Nate, you have been a blessing, honestly, to Crema. The experience of working with you has been awesome. I'm excited for what the future holds for us because of the work that you're doing. So thank you for all of that. We wouldn't be where we are without you. So thank you.
It's been great.
I want to wrap it up. This has been an awesome conversation. If you fit into those profiles and you want to chat with us, shoot us a message. hello@crema.us or nate@crema.us. I'm sure you're okay with me putting your email address out there. I hope that was
It's
right.
fine.
You can find it. You can find it.
I think your email address is all over the website. Or check out crema.us. If you haven't yet, we are a digital product studio. For that, we didn't say that before. We are helping individuals and organizations thrive through design, technology, and culture, and we love doing it. So we'd love to have a conversation with you. Coffee when we can. Maybe just a Zoom for now, but maybe one day a coffee. And as always, if you haven't already, subscribe to our podcast. It's we think it's special. We like being in your ears and maybe on your eyes if you're watching us on YouTube. So thanks for doing that.
Tell everyone on the block.
Oh yeah. Walk around the block, go down to your community pool if it's open, and
stay socially distant and call.
Right. Make little paper airplanes that says, listen to Option 5 podcast, and just start firing them over the fence into the pool. Kids will pick them up and then be like, kid, give it to your parents.
But
and
be careful. You could be the creep. So just be careful.
But make sure you tell somebody about this. And if you can, give us a nice review on iTunes. That'd be real nice. Thank you. All right, guys. Until next time. Thanks, Nate. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Cheers.
All right, bye.
My name is Rob Lefevre, and I'm a lead architect at Crema. I work with our development team to press forward in our craft and bring awesome products to life for our clients. I enjoy working at Crema because I get to constantly grow and learn alongside an amazing team of folks dedicated to improving our craft and exploring new ways of working. Option 5 is a podcast by Crema, a digital product agency that creates web and mobile apps for disruptive companies and industry leaders. We believe that design, technology, and culture can help create a world where individuals and companies thrive. Learn more at crema.us.